The thing that was the most surprising to me is we correlate success with titles besides being aligned with the direction of our lives. People are like, how do you have so much energy? How do you get so much done? And the answer is really simple. I follow my joy. I outsource the rest. So I look at my life and I optimize by quarter. I have everything this year planned out. You know, when people say, how are you doing? We're always like, we're fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. And we know that everything's not fine. So instead, being authentic and saying, I'm doing okay, there's been a, this, that, or this or that, and being just authentic and honest. But you first have to be clear.
My mission is to embolden every woman in the C-suite or on the rise to claim her agency and challenge the norms holding her back. This show offers candid conversations with powerful business leaders sharing their real stories of success and failure. Join us right now. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Climbing the Corporate Ladder Without Breaking a Heel. I'm your host and your coach, Dr. Cynthia. Before we jump in, I want to remind you guys that Human Capital Investment Strategy is available right now, my latest book, in pre-sale on Amazon or on my website. If you join me on my website, pick up a copy and put in code CCL25, Climbing the Corporate Ladder, CCL25. You'll get $3 off and $728 in free bonus content. So don't miss your opportunity to pick up your copy today. Let's jump in with today's guest. I am so excited to introduce you to Melissa Aarskaug today. Melissa is the Executive Vice President of Strategy and Growth for Druva. They are a leading cybersecurity company delivering managed detection and response, vulnerability assessments, and AI ML-powered data protection. She's a real smarty. In addition, however, to her executive role, and I told her just a moment ago that I'm exhausted watching her, Melissa is a recognized industry leader and community builder. She hosts the Executive Connect podcast, which I strongly recommend you subscribe to. She serves on the boards of Global Gaming Business and Global Gaming Women, and is a frequent speaker and panel moderator at major industry events. She is also, and we're going to dive into this deeply, the co-author of Renaissance, Redefining Success for Modern Mavericks. It's a book that challenges traditional definitions of achievement and inspires readers to design success on their own terms, which, Melissa, you have certainly done. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be with you today, Dr. Cynthia.
Oh my gosh. Call me Cynthia. You and I go back a ways. We have the affinity for gaming. I spent some time in casino gaming myself, and we met through some connections when I was in Vegas doing a keynote. And we've been friends and followers of one another's work ever since. But I'm so excited about the book that just came out, and it's already winning all kinds of bestseller awards. So congratulations on that. Tell me about this notion of modern mavericks. What was the most surprising thing when you started to do the work and the research and began writing? What did you learn through that process?
Thank you for asking that. I think the thing that was the most surprising to me is we correlate success with titles besides being aligned with the direction of our lives. When my values, my energy, and my calendar is matched, momentum shows up in every area of my life personally. The surprise was how fast progress came once I stopped chasing every opportunity and started choosing the right ones. I think back to my earlier years where I was like, I got to be this, then I can do that. But I think once you can align things, it all comes really seamlessly.
Yeah. And, one of the things that's not mentioned, or I didn't mention as part of your bio, is you're also married and have 4 kiddos that are still very much in the stages of being at home and dance and sports, and I'm sure everything else. It's a lot. So forging your path and alignment has to be really important when you decide that you're going to make the decision to contribute your time, effort, and energy outside of the home and away from your family. I think it's even more so important that you've got that aligned purpose, right?
100%.
When you think about your journey, where were those specific pivot points where you had to make the decision or thought, this is the time where I need to refocus or shift my energy someplace else?
Great question. So I'll give a couple examples. For me, people have always told me to pick a lane. Pick a lane. Are you a corporate executive? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a single woman? Are you a married woman? Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? I launched Executive Connect while building a career globally from one end of the world to the other end in cybersecurity while raising 4 children. My son was 1 when I took a global role. So for me, I designed my own lanes. I didn't ask for permission. I designed them by pairing security, leadership, storytelling. I blended open doors, boardroom, and stages because it solved real problems for real leaders. The podcast came about because I think back to my 20s, I was so frustrated with myself and my career. I didn't know anything about imposter syndrome and mindset and all the things that I now know a lot about. But I think back to those earlier years, had I had the opportunity to hear someone who's been in those shoes, who has forged those paths, and I couldn't find anyone. And so I decided to create this podcast because there wasn't a need and everybody kind of had picked one lane. And the podcast is 5 lanes. It's leadership. It's once you have the money and you have the career, what do you do with the money outside of your 401k? So it talks about alternative investments. I talk a lot about cybersecurity, AI, and tech because I am in the field. And then longevity. I've found so many of my friends that were CEOs were now trading their money for their health. So the goal is to have the career, the wealth, the health. And then the 5th pillar is faith, because without faith, in my opinion, nothing much matters.
So for the woman listening, if you're not exhausted by now, right? Listening to all that you juggle, and we'll get into some of your thoughts and advice about that as well. But what I hear you saying is, number one, you don't have to follow the path that somebody else prescribed for you. Number two, chasing a specific title, role, proverbial ladder may not be for everyone. And so you sort of break the mold by saying design your own path. Find the way that works for you with all of your gifts, talents, lifestyle things in mind. And I think that's so empowering for people to hear that not only is that possible, and you've demonstrated that, right? But that they're encouraged to do that. You know, it also makes me think, diverting for just a moment, I've been doing a lot of research lately about how AI, machine learning technology is really changing what we will rely on when it comes to human capital. And it's part of what I outline in my latest book. But it further emphasizes this. We may not know the positions specifically that are going to be penned and named and job descriptions outlined a year from now, 2 years from now. So in some ways, it's the perfect time to start forging your own path. Would you agree? I mean, you live in the tech space.
100%. I think forging your own path is really key. And I know for me, like, forging my own path came from feeling frustrated in my career, from feeling stuck, from feeling so many years of armoring up to meet what other people thought I should be. And I wasn't your stereotypical civil engineer. I wore lipstick and makeup and curled my hair and I wore dresses, but I armored up in those early years and I started not doing my hair, not wearing makeup, wearing baggy clothes so everybody around me felt comfortable and safe. And that continued throughout my career until one day, I ran a simple audit on my own life. And that was the real shift for me.
Say more about that, because I'm thinking about the person listening, and I've had a similar discovery much later, where I was reflecting back on all the formative experience that shaped how I showed up because I've been in corporate for so long, and then what that would look like in this environment where I'm really in that one-to-one space building relationships. But say more about your internal audit, your personal audit.
I get this pretty much on the daily in my life. People are like, how do you have so much energy? How do you get so much done? And the answer is really simple. I follow my joy. I outsource the rest. So I look at my life and I optimize by quarter. I have everything this year planned out. We're in October. I know what I'm doing for the rest of the year. And I'm optimizing for this quarter. And my calendar reflects it. So if I have goals of doing X, Y, and Z, it would show in my calendar. If not, rewrite one recurring block each week that serves that priority. So small, consistent reallocation beats a dramatic reinvention. So meaning, like, I've never prioritized my health over anything, even over my children, right? Because I can't be what I need to be as a mom if I'm not healthy. So I get up before everybody's up to take care of my health so I could take care of them. I don't give myself excuses. Now, there's days I don't go because I'm not feeling 100%. I'm not going to burn myself out, but I'm really keyed into my joy and how I'm feeling. And I use my intuition.
Gosh, I just want to say back, I think this is such a mic drop moment. Follow your joy, outsource the rest. I mean, that is sage advice. We have a model in Now Near Next where we talk about boundaries. And one of the things we know from research, Melissa, as you're indicating, is that women in particular tend to give up the very thing that brings them joy when they have to make difficult decisions, right? So they think everything requires their time and attention. When at some point they have to go, oh, I can't get it all done. Instead of thinking about the things that don't bring you joy and aren't a great play to your strength and talent and outsourcing those things, what do we often cut? The things that we don't think have a lot of high external value, even though we enjoy them. So it might be reading or exercise or getting your nails done or, pick a thing. That's the thing we give up instead of the thing that we could otherwise outsource. So I love hearing you say that. And it sort of speaks to how you manage it all and keep all the plates spinning.
And I think back, I'll think back to my college years. I worked so hard to get straight A's. And I look back and I'm like, why? Nobody asked me what my GPA was when I got a job. And it's the same thing as a mom. Why are you doing everything for your children? If you don't have children, why aren't you doing more for yourself and outsourcing to others? I outsource a lot of housework to my family, hired help, other people. It doesn't mean that I don't do housework and I'm too good for housework. I just know where to best prioritize and make sure. It's just like leading. My kids understand why they're doing the dishes and the laundry and vacuuming. They understand their pace just like I understand that I do grocery shopping. My husband takes out the trash. Everybody is working with clarity and understanding, whether it's in a leadership role I'm in, a mom role I'm in, a board role I'm in. There's complete clarity and authenticity. And if somebody doesn't understand, we talk about it.
I think that is an important point for the overwhelmed, overworked, overextended person listening, right? Is that what of those things can you outsource, delegate, et cetera? And then one of the tips that we cover in Now Near Next, and I emphasize this, and then let it go. Because if somebody doesn't stack the dishwasher exactly as you would, guilty, you can't go back in and restack the dishwasher. It sort of unwinds the whole fact that you delegated it in the first place. You have to be comfortable that if it gets done, it gets done.
And let's talk about that, because that's a really sticky point. I am highly organized. I like an organized house, But my level of needing that dishwasher stacked versus my piece of letting a dish break is you got to find those tipping points. Now, I have accountability partners, i.e. my husband, and he reminds me regularly, does that really need to be like, I like my kids to put things in a place so I don't fall and trip when I wake up early. Now, does their backpacks need to be exactly in the place? Probably not, but they need to understand if it's not and I fall, that's the reasoning I'm asking it. Instead of me just nagging them to move the backpack, say, the reason I need the backpack out of the laundry room so when I wake up and the laundry room's dark, I don't fall over your backpacks. Clear is kind. And so to your point, I have checks and balances. My husband's like, yeah, you were definitely a little too much on making sure all the pillows were organized and the backpacks were, and we get there as people because we're imperfect creatures. But I have those people that are able to tell me, yeah, that's a little too much. Like you were just saying, like, let the dishwasher go. Who cares?
Yes. In my circumstance, that's my sister who's happy to let me know when I need to. And my daughter to an extent, because of course I have adult children, so they push back a little more and a little more often. I really want to dive into this book. I'm so fascinated by the work you've done, and it's just getting such amazing reviews. Is there a framework that you're particularly proud of, or you think really is something that the person listening should hear about? And tell me about what that is and what it works to serve.
So when I think of this book and kind of how it came to be, I like first when you look at it, you think it's a book for women. And originally it was just a book for women. And what I realized through the process is we are all masculine and feminine. We are man and woman. We have different pieces within us, testosterone, estrogen. We could go back to, the science behind us, but really simply, Renaissance is redefining success, the heart work, the soul work, the feminine work, the why, right? And I started thinking about this the other day, like, why do I get stuff done? Well, I have very clear understanding of, and I'm very aware. So what's the real goal? The real goal is I want to publish the book. What are the real constraints? Time. So I have awareness in what I'm trying to achieve. Like I classify it. And then I align it in matching my resources and my relationships with that goal. So I had to align my time. I had no time Monday to Friday, 0 time to write that book Monday to Friday. So I did it Saturday morning at 5 a.m. And then I partnered with one of my best friends of 18 years, almost 18 years, with co-writing that book. And then I put it to action. I shipped one meaningful deliverable every week. This turned strategy into visible progress. We were moving the book forward, right? So those are just my own kind of pieces. But what I realized around me is I had a lot of mavericks around me. And that's when I kind of came to the conclusion of mavericks. And all of them, whether it's a visionary, a builder, a connector, it's really knowing who you have in your corner, and it gives you better decision filters, right? It gives us better lenses, different color lenses. A visionary type of person should guard deep work time and choose roles that reward ideas and their narrative, right? They're like the CEOs for a company. They're like the North Stars. They guide direction and visions and so I call a lot of my friends that are CEOs visionaries because they're building businesses. And then I look at a builder as the doers that are behind those visionaries. So they're chasing the missions with clear metrics. Okay, we need to build a software. We need to drive sales. And a connector is somebody who is looking to partner. We can go through all those archetypes, but really choosing when you need which one of those mavericks really depends on where you are in your career. And that gives you the results you need to get where you need. I have people in my life who are not visionaries, period. They're doers. They will stand behind things I do because I carry more of a visionary personality, but I also build, right? I'm also an engineer and a salesperson. So those kind of tools really get you to a place that is moving the needle. And so I've used those in all facets of my life. I can count on my hand all my different friends are one part of those characteristics at different parts in their life. Like when you're building a family, you can't also be a visionary growing a business. Now you can, you just have to, schedule it and put checks and balances. It might not happen tomorrow. And so I think we all become different mavericks at different times in our life.
And it sounds like from a practical perspective is as you understand these three archetypes and then you think about who in your circle sort of is serving in those various roles, right? Who's the connector on your life's board of directors or in your circle? Who are the visionaries? Who are the builders? Then from a practical perspective, is it then that you call upon those individuals as you need support or ideas or relationships or development? Share how you're practically putting that in action.
I have coaches for almost every part of my life. Like there's people that don't believe in coaching or getting, a second opinion about a situation. No, I don't. I sit in my feminine, my heart, my gut work, my brain, my thinking. I leverage my intuition. And once I get to a point, I then hire a coach and coach to fit. And setting these very specific team rituals that support the mix of, visionaries, reviews, like vision, like a black belt would, where builders sprint to hit delivery timelines for software, connectors showcase their partnerships, and then I measure it, right? Like I measure those outputs tied to the strengths I bring and progress that is visible and repeatable, but I'm outsourcing it, right? My co-author is a very different brained person. She's very organized and I'm like left field, right field, center field, and she's very focused on my ADD personality. And I'm more like, oh my gosh, this could be this and that, and we should do this, and we should do a maverick test. But she pulls back all of these like ideas in an organized fashion so we can agree on something that's tactical for the book. And so we need both of those personalities. And she's one that will, okay, Melissa, I'm going to give here and you need to give here. And we work through that negotiation to get to an output. And by the way, all of that process had coaches and peer review and people that supported it and our husbands that read it and the publisher that reviewed it and changed kind of things that we were doing. And so it wasn't just us doing. There was an army of people around us helping us in areas we weren't strong.
It's powerful on so many levels. It makes me think back. Kimberly Rath, who I think you met, my partner on Now Near Next, co-author, thought partner, and has been a mentor of mine for years. We were sort of described ourselves as the yin and yang when we embarked on Now Near Next, much like you and your co-author. She loves to tell the funny story about we decided that we were going to call the parent company of that work Zeal of the Heel, and I did a TikTok video. I'd never been on TikTok, didn't know anything about TikTok. But, I'm pretty quick with technology and went on there and I did this little random video of Zeal the Heel and our new book coming out Now Near Next. And I sent it and I was so excited. And she texted me and she said, hey, Cyn, we probably ought to make sure that we have some of that work trademarked before you're out on the world stage talking about it. I'm like, oh, okay, noted. So yeah, I'm the visionary, right? I'm like, and I'm going 1,000 miles an hour, and every now and then Kimberly's going, whoa, slow down just a little bit. Let's maybe think about that before we launch that into the metaverse.
But think about that. Like, it's such a blessing to have those people around you. Like, a lot of times I think we show up on social and we're like, oh my gosh, this was just so easy for them. Or like they didn't have to do any of that. Their life's just so grand. But there's a lot of work that goes behind what happens in our lives. And, you know, I call it the dumb tax. I've had to pay a lot of dumb tax to get me where I'm at. And the older I get, the more I lean on my other mavericks to say, yeah, no, Melissa, like you said, we should like patent this training. And so it's important to know where you are and what maverick you are, because we all can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah, so important, because you're right. And where our natural gifts and talents show up and where we're more naturally aligned is where we find joy, where we're going to deliver with excellence. It comes really natural. So it sounds like another piece is really making sure that you're calling on the right maverick, right? If you want a visionary thought partner, you really want to know who in your circle shows up and can tap into that talent, rather than if the person is much more primarily a builder, right? Much more primarily a doer. That could be disappointing or frustrating or not quite get you where you're going when you want to brainstorm and have a thought partnership, and they're like, wait, slow down. How is that going to work? And what are the steps to get to A to B? And you're like, no, 50,000 feet. Let's just love my idea for 5 minutes, right? I've had that happen. I say this, can you tell that there's some emotion behind this? I'd had this happen where I picked the wrong archetype to brainstorm a big idea, and the person's response was to try to operationalize it before it had really, sort of lived in and come into fruition. So I think that's incredible. Let's talk about career and balancing family, because one of the things I'm hearing is that you've really, this framework, whether you had named it at early on in life or not, you sort of show up around a framework of follow your joy, outsource the rest, be clear and kind, right? Have clear expectations. This notion of assigning the right things to the right people and having the right people in your corner. How has that mindset, even if it didn't have all of those names and language around it, how has that mindset shaped your ability to be an executive vice president in a large organization while hosting an incredible podcast, while authoring a book and sitting on panels and presenting on stages and in part of 2 boards, right? And I could go on. That's just those are the highlights. And 4 kids, right? Under the age of, how old is your oldest? I know your youngest is what?
15 to 3.
How has that approach shaped your ability to, from the outside looking in, looks like you can do it all?
Systems and seasons. Very simply, I run my life like a portfolio with weekly stand-ups every week. Shared calendars, clear trade-offs. Like, when I think of our life, some weeks are like launch weeks, some weeks are like family first weeks. I do fewer things, deeper. I protect my sleep, my faith, and fitness is non-negotiable. Always. No exceptions. And I know when I have to temper my ambitions because the family needs me. And I know when my family's got my back. But again, I think back to kind of what I was saying is I have those check-in points. I have systems in place. Like, I had somebody over my house recently and I was having my 3-year-old chop vegetables. Into her, she's like, oh my God, he's 3. You're allowing him to cut vegetables. What she didn't see is I had given him a knife that was toddler appropriate, right? So if he hit his skin. He didn't cut himself, but that helped. He A, enjoyed it. B, it helped me get dinner moving faster. And so those kind of efficiencies are really important when we think about what we're trying to accomplish. Just like if I haven't seen a friend for a while, we go do yoga in the morning early. We catch up before, we catch up after, we flow together, and that's the time we have, right? If I'm, in between pickups, I call my parents. I kind of look at things in multiples. What can I do while I have to do something else? And where can I outsource and have a child help me? Last night we're putting up Halloween decorations and, one's helping dad, the other one's boiling the pot on the stove, one's getting her homework done, and my son's getting his shower done. And so all of us are moving towards a unit, but it's all been by design with systems. And everybody understands why. One understands why she's cooking. The other understands why she's helping dad. So they're not like, oh my gosh. But it's clear and it's kind. And Brian and I, my husband and I, are able to get what we need to get done personally, professionally, to move the family unit forward.
What would be some of the first steps to just create some kind of system that maybe doesn't feel overwhelming to the individual that isn't wired that way?
I think it's small things. Like, I think you have to get right with you. You have to understand what's going on with you. Is there mental fog? Is there an energy issue? Are you anxious? Are you, where are you? Don't think about your children or your job or your husband or your family. And I know that's really hard. Look, I've been there many, many times. I use my own simple rules. If a moment is under repeatable, I choose family. Like, for instance, if my kids are only going to get to graduate one time, I have to be there. I have to put everything else on the back burner. If it's repeatable, like my daughters have cheer every Tuesday. Every single Tuesday, I negotiate the timing and I delegate. So I know that I have to do that. It removes guilt from me not being there always, and it keeps trust strong at home and at my job, right? I think we have to put up, what are we able to do? What are we not able to do? And it first starts with us. Like, I often hear a lot of times, women tell me, like, how do you get your husband to help you do the dishes? How do you get your husband to go to the store to buy feminine hygiene products for your daughters? My husband would never do that. And I think I ask them to ask their husband. And then when their husband says no, I just say, ask him why. Like, my husband is my ride or die, and he helps on a lot of things. That doesn't mean we don't argue or disagree and we don't negotiate. It means that we work together back to the systems and seasons. I just started a new job, which means he's taken more of the burden of the household, which is a lot, right? He's running 4 kids around to school while I'm on a plane. And then when I come home, I know that I have to be ready to take on the kids, which means I have to organize sleep wherever I could get it while traveling, because I need to still have energy on Friday evening when I get home. And so my husband and I start the day in clarity. We end the day in clarity. We start the day, okay, you got to get the kids here. You got a work call at 7:30. Can you do it? No, okay, I'm going to take the work car on the road. Or actually, I have to be on video. Or we negotiate it out. And then if neither one of us can do it, we ask for help. And sometimes that help, we have family. Sometimes it's paid help. But we know where we are in those seasons. So one thing. So back to your question. Do one thing, but you first have to get clear on where you are. If you're already burnt out and tired, you're going to have to schedule that massage, lay in bed on a Saturday, put your kids in bed with you, watch a show with them, have them cook for you. And so I think it's just, what can you do that's simple today?
I know that there's a person listening that's single, that doesn't have that, perhaps that ride or die support in terms of a significant other. And women tend to be adverse to asking for or receiving help. But I've said this on other episodes. We talk about this in Now Near Next. It's something that you've really hit home, is that asking and receiving help is delegation. It is leadership 101. In other words, it doesn't need to feel like failure or that you have not earned the cape or whatever the case may be. As great leaders in organizations, we don't do everything. We have to delegate certain things. We have to be willing to collaborate, to find the best people to help and support us. And so looking in terms of the circle that you do have, has there ever been a time where you felt that you had to make a choice between being a mom or being, sort of the family person and working outside the home, or that you felt that there was that tension just became too much?
Yeah, and look, I was a single person once, and when you're single, you're very selfish. You don't realize it. It's just you've been selfish. You are selfish. And so and maybe I'm gonna, get, some heat for saying this, but be selfish. Take the time to spend doing you and figuring out you and what you want and what's right for you. And it's okay. And I think back, I have a very close friend of mine. I needed to get a dress. My husband needed to do something. And I took my 3-year-old shopping with me at a store. And my girlfriend's like, let me take him. So I was able to have one of my dear friends watch my 3-year-old so I could try a dress on. And she loved every minute of it. Not a mom, doesn't want to be a mom, but she helped me with my son. And she took it upon herself to ask, let me take him, go try on the clothes. I didn't have to ask her. So if you're a single person and you see your friends in this place, help them. And vice versa. If you're married and you see your single friends and they need some help them move to a different house, or, whatever they're going through. Just be that friend and just show up for people. And so you got to show up for others if you want others to show up for you.
What do you think your children are taking in, learning, as they watch you be this badass career woman, traveling all over the place, semi famous person with her podcast and award-winning, so many awards. We didn't even name all of them, but you've really done some amazing things, and continue to do. What message do you think it sends to your children?
I want them to build a life that they're proud of. Whatever that color, however they're coloring, I want them to be kind to people. I want them to keep their word, to solve problems in our world, and take smart risks. Now, we've all made bad mistakes and we've all had bad days, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to have those bad days. I want them to try for whatever level they're shooting for. And success is freedom to serve at a higher level. So why the book? Why the podcast? Why the speaking? I truly feel like I am living, my blessed life. It doesn't mean that my days aren't hard and I'm not tired and I don't argue with my husband or, have challenges at work, but it's my job to serve at a higher level and teach others that it's okay to live a messy life. Like, I've been divorced. I've been remarried. I've pivoted careers. I've made money mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I stand here, with you, very proud of the life I've built, the friends I have, and the community around me. And so I really want them to show up in their life and be authentically them. But they first have to figure out what that is. And just like all of us have to do, we have to grow up, hang out with the wrong groups, make the mistakes on the test, stay up late, all those things we all have to learn, but really building a life that you're proud of is something truly special.
There was a time early-ish in my career, my daughter, who's now 32, I don't know how she ages and I just somehow don't. I don't know. But my daughter's 32. But when she was about 9 months old, I used to travel a lot before she was born. And so I had about 9 months without traveling. And then it was time for, to get back to it. And I remember being on that very first trip and just being really emotional, just really feeling like missing her, is this the right thing, et cetera. And I called my mom because oftentimes that's what we do, right? If we're so blessed to have a mom present in our lives. And she said, honey, here's what I would offer to you. She said, you're either there and missing her and doom and gloom and all the things, or you run a hot bath and you order up, dinner and a glass of wine, and you enjoy that you have a night without a 9-month-old waking up or needing your time and attention. Either way, you're gone, right? First of all. So you can pamper yourself and pour into your own cup and still miss her, or you can be sad and emotional and all the things. It's not going to make you get home any faster, number one. And number two, you're giving her options. Jordan is learning that she could be a stay-at-home mommy. She could be a career mom. She could do a career and not have children. I mean, you're demonstrating to her that there are options and, there are lots of things that are possible. And it just was so profound. And I think that that's, Melissa, what you're demonstrating for your beautiful children is there's lots of options. But at the end of the day, build a life you're proud of, right? Be a good person, bring joy. The other things and I'll go with our last question that I love all of our guests to answer. But there's so many things. I love the fact that you are non-negotiable about prioritizing your fitness. More of us, self included, should be better about that. That your faith, that when it comes to family, is this a repeatable thing or is this a one-time thing? And using that as maybe a filter on how you negotiate your time, following your joy, outsourcing the rest to the extent you can, being good to other people and showing up for them. Systems and seasons really struck me. And then, of course, all of the rich information in your incredible new book, Renaissance, Redefining Success for Modern Mavericks, which I know is available wherever amazing books are sold. And we'll drop all of the how to get a hold of you in the show notes. But before we close out, what is one thing you would say to the person listening to start doing, stop doing, and continue to do?
Start getting clear. I really believe clarity cures a lot. It really does. Being clear with your friends and your family and your children and yourself. Like, I know, when people say, how are you doing? We're always like, we're fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. And we know that everything's not fine. So instead, being authentic and saying, I'm doing okay. There's been this, that, or this or that. And being just authentic and honest. But you first have to be clear before. So what's the second thing?
Stop doing.
Guilt. I think stop with the guilt. And if I should have, or I should have said that after a meeting, or I could have done this better. There's no sense in living our life in the past. We could all of us can should all over ourselves. But what can we do about what we know? And what did we learn that we can move forward? It's compounding. So if you keep making the same mistakes, back to clarity, you need to be clear with yourself. You should not feel guilt. But once you learn, okay, every time I hang up, I apologize for whatever. Like, I hear a lot of women say they apologize all the time. So instead of shooting all over yourself, just commit. Next time I'm on something and I didn't do anything wrong, don't apologize. Just do it.
And what should they continue to do?
Small wins every single week. Just small wins. Like, it doesn't have to be like, I brushed my hair today. I had 10 minutes to myself. Whatever those things are. Purpose grows when action consistently is clear. It serves people and it creates value. I think do that and the title takes care of itself and your goals get done as you do that.
Y'all, this is a woman who is living it. You're living everything that you've talked about, you put into practice on a daily basis. And you make it look easy. But what I really love and respect about you, Melissa, is you're very open and authentic about it isn't always easy. There's some days where it's just, I got showered and accomplished all the other things, right? And so I think there's two sides of that is so important. One, that if you put these practices in place, it can get easier and be more fulfilling. But give yourself grace because we all have a lot. And as women, we know because we've studied women around the globe. If we're not raising children, we're doing something. We're pouring into our community, our church, our neighborhood, our jobs. We find somebody to pour into. So whether you have a crazy busy job and career, as well as a house full of children and all the things, or don't, I suspect that the average person listening raises their hand when we say, "Are you overextended? Are you stretched?" I think if you're a woman and you are a working woman in or outside the home, we can all share the commonality of being overextended. So thank you so much for being with us, for sharing your thoughts and your wisdom. I wish you so much continued success. I just am in awe of your journey. Keep crushing it. Keep shining a light for other women and men. You are such a blessing. I appreciate you, Melissa.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. And that's a wrap. That concludes today's episode of Climbing the Corporate Ladder Without Breaking a Heel. I'm your host and your coach, Dr. Cynthia. Look me up. Find me on all the socials at Dr. Cynthia Bentzen-Mercer. Until next time, be good to yourself and boldly invest in your future today. That concludes today's episode of Climbing the Corporate Ladder Without Breaking a Heel. I'd be so grateful if you'd rate and comment on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Visit CynthiaBenzenMercer.com and find me on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Dr. Cynthia Bentzen-Mercer.